Hi, I'm JT Demidio,
Hi, I'm Greywall.
and we're doing the first derivative test. The first derivative test is used to test if extrema are either a max or a minimum value on the graph. In the next segment, we'll have a graph and explain more about this point.
So here we have a graph representation of the first derivative test, which I think will help you guys better understand the concept better. So with this graph, it's really easy to tell what the maxes and mins are. We can clearly see that this point is the max. We can clearly see this point is the min. So what the first derivative test states is that the derivative of these points, which we'll call them A, is equal to 0, because we can clearly see that when you take the derivative, basically the derivative slope of that point is 0. And to help us find out whether these points are maxes or mins without the graph representation, we'll draw a number line. So for this example, we'll call this point 2, and we'll call this point 4. So when we draw our number line, we put 2 and 4 down. And what we need to do is we need to find the slopes of the points in between these 2 and 4. So we'll call this point 3, we'll do 1, and we'll do 5. And so since we have the graph here, we'll look at this. 1, we take the slope of that, the derivative is positive, so we'll put a plus here. And with 3, we'll find the slope of that, and that slope is negative, so we'll put that on the number line. And then we go back to 5, and we'll see that 5 has a positive slope, so we'll put a plus there. So in finding the maxes and mins of 2 and 4 with the positive and negative slopes we can basically just conceptually draw it out. So since we have a positive point here, and it goes to a negative slope after, we can tell that is the top of the graph, which would be a maximum. And when we go from the negative slope of the point 3 to the positive slope of the point 5, we can tell that 4 is the bottom point.
So in the last segment, Kai gave an example using a graph to find the local mins and maxes on a graph. But this time, I'm going to show you with an equation how to use the first derivative test. So here we have the equation y equals x cubed minus 3x squared minus 2. So the first thing we have to do is take the derivative. Y prime is equal to 3x squared minus 6x, and that's it. We get rid of the constant. So now we have the derivative, we set it equal to 0. 3x squared minus 6x equals 0. So we can factor out a 3x. After factoring out the 3x, we can see that our two critical points are going to be 0 and 2. So we'll put them on the number line like Kai showed earlier. So now that the points are on the number line, we're going to plug in values that are in between those numbers to see if the slope is positive or negative. So we're going to plug it back into the derivative. So we'll start with 1. 1 is between 0 and 2, so 1 squared is 1 times 3 is 3, and then minus 6 times 1, which would be negative 3, so the slope is negative. So we'll put a negative there. So now we'll plug in negative 1, because that is be on the other side of 0, and determine what the slope is there. So plugging in negative 1, negative 1 squared is a positive 1, which would make that 3, minus a negative 6, which make it a positive, so it's 3 plus 6, so it's 9, so the slope is positive here. And then finally we'll plug in 3. 3 squared is 9, times 3 again is 27, minus 6 times 3, which is 18. 27 minus 18 is 9, so the slope is positive here. So now you can see the slope is increasing here, decreasing between 0 and 2, and then increasing again. So since the slope is increasing till 0 and then decreasing after, we can see we have a max at x equals 0. And then since the slope is decreasing till 0, or till 2, and then after 2 it begins to increase again, we can see we have a minimum at x equals 2. And this is how you use the first derivative test to find minimums and maximums with an equation.
Okay, so to recap what you guys just learned, the basic equation of the first derivative test is f prime of a equals 0. So when you take the derivative of your equation to find where the maxes and mins are, you find the equation and then set it equal to 0. And so to find the maximum value is when f prime of x changes sign from positive to negative.
And then if you're trying to find a minimum value, when f prime of x changes sign from negative to positive, then you will have a minimum value at that point. There are some cases where f prime of x may not change signs at a critical point, and there's no minimum or maximum value at that point. And that's why using the number line is a good tool to help determine whether the slope changes from positive to negative or negative to positive. I'm JT Demidio.
And I'm Greywall, and this has been a comprehensive review of the first derivative test. Thank you for watching.